Jack Harper wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished fixing the engine of an old cargo ship. The repair shop around him was small, but filled with tools and spare parts. Outside, 3 moons hung in the purple sky of Solarian Colony, a place most people only visited when they had no other choice. "All done, Pete," Jack said, closing the engine panel. "Should hold for another year at least." The ship's captain, an older man with a gray beard, smiled. "What do I owe you this time?" Jack thought for a moment. Pete had brought him fresh fruit last month when supplies were low. "We're even. Just bring me some of those blue berries next. Time you pass through the Centauri system." Pete shook his head. "You'll never get rich that way, son?" Jack shrugged. "Don't need to be rich. Just need enough." He believed in a simple idea: help others when you can. The universe was hard enough already. After Pete left, Jack began closing his shop for the night. The colony was quiet, with most of the 5,000 residents already in their homes. Jack's shop sat at the edge of the settlement, close to the landing pads where ships could set down for repairs or supplies dot as he locked up his tools. A loud noise made him look up. A ship was coming in too fast. Its engines flared unevenly, showing signs of damage. It was sleeker than most vessels that came to Solarian, its silver hull reflecting the moonlight. This was no ordinary cargo ship or settler transport. Jack grabbed his emergency kit and ran outside. The ship made a rough landing, skidding across the dirt before coming to a stop just 100 feet from his shop. Smoke rose from one of its engines. Jack approached carefully. The ship's design was unlike anything he had seen before. Smooth lines, no visible weapons, but built for speed. The door hissed open, and a woman stumbled out, coughing from the smoke. She was tall with long brown hair, now falling out of what had been a neat arrangement. Her clothes were simple, but made from materials Jack had only seen in advertisements for luxury products on Earth. She looked around, spotted Jack, and straightened her back. "Hello," she said, her voice clear despite her disheveled appearance. "I appear to be having some trouble with my ship." Jack smiled. "I can see that. I'm Jack Harper. I run the repair shop here." He pointed to his building. "Olivia Montgomery," she replied, not offering her hand. "How long will repairs take?" "I'm on a rather tight schedule." Jack walked around the ship, examining the damage. Hard to say without looking inside. "Engine trouble?" Olivia nodded. "Yes, I had to make a rapid departure from my last stop. The strain was apparently too much for the left propulsion system." Something about the way she said it made Jack curious, but he didn't ask. People came to Solarian Colony for many reasons, and privacy was respected. "Let me take a look," he said, climbing up to examine the smoking engine. The technology was advanced, but the problem was clear enough. A power coupling had overheated and melted several key components. Jack whistled. "You're lucky you made it down in one piece." Olivia stood below, looking anxious. "Can you fix it?" "Yes," Jack said, already mentally listing the parts he would need, but not quickly. "You'll be here until tomorrow at least." Olivia's face fell. "That's not ideal. Are there accommodations nearby?" Jack laughed. "The colony's one hotel is full of miners this week, but I have a spare room above my shop you can use." She looked at his small building with doubt. "I wouldn't want to impose." "It's no problem," Jack said, climbing down. "Let me grab my tools, and we can get started. The sooner I begin, the sooner you can leave." As night fell, Jack worked on the ship while Olivia paced nearby. She checked a small device on her wrist frequently, looking more worried each time. "Expecting an important call?" Jack asked as he removed a damaged part. Olivia hesitated. "Something like that. I should have reached my destination by now. People will be wondering where I am. No way to let them know?" She shook her head. Long-range communications are down too. Part of the same system. Jack nodded and returned to work. After an hour, he noticed Olivia shivering in the night air. The colony got cold after dark. "Why don't you wait inside?" he suggested. "No point. Freezing out here. I've got coffee, or tea if you prefer." Olivia looked surprised at the offer, but nodded. "Tea would be nice, thank you." Jack's living space above the shop was small but comfortable. He showed her to the kitchen area and put water on to boil. Olivia looked around with interest at his books, plants, and the few photos on the wall. "You've lived here long?" she asked, accepting the cup of tea he offered. "About 5 years," Jack said. "Came out on a government contract to maintain equipment. Stayed when I saw how much the colony needed a good mechanic." "And before that?" Jack shrugged. "Earth, then Mars, then a few stations. Never stayed anywhere too long." He didn't mention the feeling he'd always had, that he was looking for something. He couldn't name God as the night went on. Jack worked while Olivia helped by handing him tools and holding lights. To his surprise, she was a quick learner, asking smart questions about the repairs. "You know your way around engines," he said, as they took a break around midnight. Olivia smiled for the first time since arriving. "My father believed everyone should understand how things work. He made sure I spent time with our company's engineers." "Your company?" Her smile faded. "Family business. Nothing exciting." Jack didn't push. Instead, he told her stories about the colony and the strange ships he'd repaired over the years. Slowly, Olivia relaxed, even laughing at his jokes. By dawn, as he fitted the last replacement part, she seemed like a different person from the tense woman who had landed. "That should do it," Jack said, closing the panel. "Want to test the engines?" Olivia nodded and climbed into the ship. The engines hummed to life, smooth and even. "Perfect," she said, looking relieved. "What do I owe you?" Jack waved his hand. "Nothing. I had the parts sitting around anyway." Olivia frowned. "I can't accept that. The parts alone must be worth thousands." "Of credits. Consider it colony hospitality," Jack said. "Just help someone else when you get the chance." Olivia stared at him for a long moment. "That's a rare attitude, Jack Harper." She hesitated, then reached out to shake his hand. "Thank you. Truly." Jack felt a strange connection as their hands met, but dismissed it as lack of sleep. "Safe travels?" Olivia Montgomery. As her ship lifted off smoothly into the morning sky, Jack had no idea that on Olivia's home world, freely given aid during a time of need created a binding commitment between the giver and receiver. He didn't know that Olivia was actually Olivia Blackwell Montgomery, head of the largest corporation in 3 sectors of the galaxy. And he certainly didn't know that, in 2 weeks' time, a fleet of corporate ships would arrive to inform him of his new status. Betrothed to the galaxy's wealthiest woman, Jack Harper, who had never left the Orion Arm, was about to become the most talked-about man in the galaxy. 2 weeks passed quietly in Solarian colony. Jack fixed engines, replaced parts, and helped the locals with their machines. He thought about Olivia sometimes, wondering where she had gone in her sleek silver ship. But such thoughts were brief. People came and went on the edge of settled space. That was normal. On a hot afternoon, Jack was replacing a cooling unit when shadows fell across his shop. He looked up to see 3 large ships hovering over the colony. They were massive corporate. Vessels with gleaming hulls and the logo of Blackwell Interstellar, the largest company in known space. "What in the world?" Jack muttered, stepping outside. The colony had gone quiet. Everyone stared at the sky. Blackwell ships rarely came to small places like Solarian. They had no reason to. A smaller shuttle broke away from the main ships and descended toward the landing area. Jack watched with the other colonists as the shuttle touched down. Its door opened, and 6 people walked out. 5 wore the black and silver uniforms of Blackwell Security. The 6th, a tall man in an expensive suit, looked around until he spotted Jack. "Jack Harper?" The man called, walking directly toward him. Jack nodded, suddenly aware of his dirty work clothes and greasy hands. "That's me." The man smiled, but his eyes remained cold. "My name is Gregory Wilson, Chief Legal Officer for Blackwell Interstellar. I need to speak with you about a matter of great importance." Before Jack could answer, Gregory handed him a tablet. On the screen was a document with many words Jack didn't understand. "What is this?" Jack asked. "Congratulations," Gregory said. "You are now betrothed to Olivia Blackwell Montgomery, Chief Executive Officer of Blackwell Interstellar, and the wealthiest person in 3 sectors of the galaxy." Jack stared at the man. "I'm what?" "Betrothed. Engaged to be married." Gregory's smile widened. 2 weeks ago, you assisted Miss Blackwell Montgomery when her ship was damaged. You provided aid freely given, without asking payment. Under the ancient customs of Proxima, Miss Blackwell Montgomery's ancestral home, this created a binding betrothal between you. Jack laughed, thinking it was a joke, but no one else laughed. The security officers stood straight-faced. Gregory looked completely serious. "This can't be real," Jack said. "I just fixed her ship." "It is very real, Mr. Harper. The board of directors has recognized the betrothal as valid under Proximan law. You are expected to come with us immediately to Nova Prime, where Ms. Blackwell Montgomery is waiting." Jack's neighbor Susan pushed through the gathering crowd. "He can't just leave. He's the only mechanic for 50 miles. Gregory barely glanced at her. "Blackwell Interstellar will send 3 qualified mechanics to replace Mr. Harper. They will arrive tomorrow." He turned back to Jack. "Please pack your essential belongings. We depart in 1 hour." Jack felt like he was dreaming. "I need to speak to Olivia. Ms. Blackwell Montgomery will meet with you on Nova Prime." "I'm not going anywhere until I talk to her," Jack insisted. Gregory sighed and held out a small device. He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared. It was Olivia, but not as Jack had seen her before. Now she wore an elegant dress, her hair perfectly styled, jewelry glinting at her neck and wrists. "Jack," she said, her image flickering slightly. "I'm sorry about all this. I didn't know. Please come to Nova Prime. I'll explain everything when you arrive." The hologram disappeared. Jack stood silent, trying to make sense of what was happening. 1 hour, Mr. Harper," Gregory said, checking his watch. "The shuttle waits for no one, not even the future husband of Olivia Blackwell Montgomery." 58 minutes later, Jack boarded the shuttle with a small bag containing his clothes and a few personal items. The colony watched as he left, there, faces showing shock and confusion. Jack felt the same way. The journey to Nova Prime took 3 days. Jack spent most of it in a private cabin larger than his entire shop back home. He was given new clothes, fancy food, and shown how to use the various luxury items in his room. No one answered his questions about the betrothal or what would happen when they arrived. On the 3rd day, the ship entered orbit around Nova Prime. Through the window, Jack saw a planet covered in cities that gleamed like jewels. The main ship docked at an orbital station, and Jack was escorted to another shuttle. "Welcome to Nova Prime, Mr. Harper," the pilot said as they descended toward the surface dock. The shuttle landed on a platform attached to the tallest building Jack had ever seen. As he stepped out, warm air filled with strange sweet scents surrounded him. A woman waited on the landing pad. For a moment, Jack didn't recognize her. Olivia stood tall and confident, wearing a business suit that probably cost more than everything Jack owned. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore light makeup that highlighted her features. "Jack," she said, stepping forward. "Welcome to Nova Prime. What is going on?" Jack asked, not moving toward her. "Why am I here? What's this about a betrothal?" Olivia looked around at the security personnel and other staff nearby. "Not here. Come inside, please." She led him into the building and up to an office high above. The city. Windows surrounded them on all sides, showing the sprawling metropolis below. "I'm sorry," Olivia said once they were alone. "This isn't what I wanted." "You could have mentioned you were Olivia Blackwell Montgomery," Jack said. She smiled. "Slightly. Would you have treated me the same if you knew?" Jack thought about it. "Probably not." "Exactly." Olivia sighed and sat down. "I didn't know about the betrothal custom. It's an old Proximan tradition that my great-grandparents brought with them when they founded the company. I only learned about it when I returned and mentioned that a kind mechanic had fixed my ship for free. And now we're engaged?" Jack asked. "The board seized on it immediately. They've been trying to control me for years, having me marry someone they think they can manipulate is perfect for them." Jack frowned. "And that's me? The easily manipulated husband?" "In their eyes, yes. A simple mechanic from a colony world." Olivia leaned forward. "But I saw how you think, how you solve problems. You're not simple at all." Before Jack could respond, the door opened. Gregory entered with several other people in expensive suits. "The board would like to meet with Mr. Harper," Gregory announced. Olivia stood. "I haven't finished explaining. The board insists," Gregory said firmly. Jack looked at Olivia, who seemed frustrated but nodded slightly. "We'll continue our conversation later," she said. As Jack followed Gregory out, he heard Olivia add quietly, "Remember, nothing here is as simple as it seems." Jack was led to a large room where 12 people sat around a table. They all stared at him as he entered. He suddenly understood what Olivia meant. This wasn't just about a strange custom or an accidental engagement. He had stepped into a game he didn't know how to play, with rules he didn't understand. And somehow, he suspected, the stakes were much higher than anyone was telling him. Jack sat at the long table, feeling out of place in his new clothes. The 12 board members of Blackwell Interstellar watched him with sharp eyes. The room was silent, except for the soft hum of air filters. "Mr. Harper," said an older woman at the head of the table. "I am Diane Blackwell, chairperson of the board. We are pleased to welcome you to the Blackwell family." Jack nodded, unsure what to say. The woman didn't look pleased at all. "You must understand," Diane continued, "Blackwell Interstellar is more than a company. It is a legacy spanning 4 generations. Olivia, as the last Blackwell, carries a great responsibility." "I'm just a mechanic," Jack said. "I fixed her ship. I didn't ask to be betrothed to anyone." A thin man with glasses smiled coldly. "Yet here you are. The traditions of Proxima are clear. Aid freely given in a time of need creates a bond that cannot be broken. Cannot be broken without consequences," Gregory added from beside Jack. "Rejecting a betrothal incurs a penalty under Proximan law." Jack frowned. "What kind of penalty?" Diane tapped on her tablet. A hologram appeared above the table, showing numbers that made Jack's eyes widen. "This is the financial penalty for breaking the betrothal," Diane explained. "It would bankrupt not only you, but your entire colony. We would be forced to claim Solarian as payment." Jack felt cold. They were threatening his home. This can't be legal. "It is perfectly legal," Gregory said. "The colony falls under the Interstellar Commerce Act, which recognizes Proximan tradition in matters of contract." Jack looked around the table. Every face showed the same cold calculation. They had planned this. But why choose him? A nobody from a small colony? "The board has decided," Diane said, "that you will remain on Nova Prime for 3 months. You will learn our customs and prepare for the formal engagement announcement. During this time, you will not contact anyone from your colony. And if I refuse? Jack asked. Then Solarian colony will pay the price, Gregory answered simply. Jack thought of his friends, his neighbors. He couldn't let them lose everything because of him. Fine, he said. 3 months. The board members nodded, satisfied. As the meeting ended, Jack was led to a large apartment in the same building. It had more rooms than he could count, with views of the endless city. A wardrobe filled with expensive clothes waited for him. Servants stood ready to help with anything he needed. Jack had never felt so trapped in his life. Later that evening, Olivia came to see him. She dismissed the servants and sat with Jack by the window. I'm sorry, she said. I never meant for this to happen. Jack looked at her. Why did you come to Solarian? Your ship could have reached a bigger port with better repair facilities. Olivia was quiet for a moment. I was running away. Just for a few days. The pressure of being Olivia Blackwell Montgomery. Sometimes it's too much. And now I'm caught in the same trap, Jack said. We both are, Olivia replied. But I'm working on a plan. I need time to find a way out that won't hurt your colony. Jack nodded slowly. What do I do until then? Play along. Learn about the company. The more you know, the better chance we have of finding a solution. The next day, Jack's education began. He was given tours of Blackwell facilities, taught the history of the company, and introduced to important people. Everything moved so fast that Jack hardly had time to think. 1 week after his arrival, Jack attended his first public event with Olivia. It was a presentation of Blackwell's newest starship design. Hundreds of people filled a large hall, with reporters and cameras everywhere. Jack stood awkwardly beside Olivia as she spoke about the new ship. He understood enough about engines to follow her words, but the business talk confused him. After her speech, models of the ship floated above the stage, showing every detail. Jack noticed something strange about one of the engine sections. The design looked wrong. The power couplings were too close to the fuel lines. It was the kind of mistake that could cause a serious failure. When Olivia finished speaking and the crowd applauded, Jack leaned close to her. There's a problem with the engine design, he whispered. Olivia looked surprised. What do you mean? The power couplings and fuel lines, they're too close. It could cause an explosion if the ship reaches full speed. Olivia frowned. Are you sure? Jack nodded. I've seen it happen with smaller engines. The principle is the same. Olivia turned to a man standing nearby. Alan, can you check the power coupling configuration on the new design? Jack thinks there might be an issue. Alan, the chief engineer, looked annoyed but pulled up detailed plans on his tablet. After a few minutes, his face went pale. He's right, Alan said quietly. How did we miss this? It could have been catastrophic. News of Jack's discovery spread quickly. That evening, Gregory called an emergency meeting with Jack, Olivia, and several board members. How did you spot this? Gregory demanded. The design was reviewed by our top engineers. Jack shrugged. It's what I do. I fix engines. I know when something looks wrong. Diane Blackwell studied Jack with new interest. Perhaps there is more to our colonial mechanic than we thought. The next day, Jack was invited to tour Blackwell's main engineering facility. As he walked through the complex with Olivia, workers stopped to look at him. Word of his discovery had traveled fast. You've impressed them, Olivia said. No one expected that. Jack examined some of the ships being built. Your company makes good vessels. But there are places where you sacrifice reliability for profit. Show me, Olivia said. Jack pointed out several areas where corners had been cut. Each time, the engineers looked surprised, then thoughtful. As they left the facility, a small drone darted toward them from behind a building. Jack noticed. At first, it was flying erratically. not like the other security drones. "Get down," he shouted, pushing Olivia aside, just as the drone fired something at the spot where she had been standing. Security officers rushed forward, shooting the drone down. Where Olivia had stood seconds before, the ground was burned by some kind of acid. "Are you all right?" Jack asked, helping Olivia up. She nodded, looking shaken. "You saved my life. How did you know?" "The drone's flight pattern was wrong," Jack said. "It was moving like it had been tampered with." Later, security confirmed Jack was right. The drone had been reprogrammed to attack Olivia. Someone had tried to kill her. That night, as Jack looked out at the glittering city from his apartment, Olivia came to see him again. "Thank you," she said simply. Jack turned to her. "Who would want to hurt you?" "Many people," Olivia replied. "I have competitors who would benefit from my death, and some on my own board who think I'm too progressive." Jack thought about everything that had happened. "Nothing here is as simple as it seems," he said, repeating her earlier warning. Olivia nodded. "No, and now that you've shown your value, you might be in danger too." She moved closer to him. "We need to trust each other, Jack. It may be the only way we both survive this." A month passed on Nova Prime. Jack grew more comfortable with his new surroundings, but never forgot that he was essentially a prisoner. Every day he met with Olivia to search for a way out of their situation. They grew closer as they worked together, sharing meals and stories of their lives. One evening, Olivia brought a stack of old documents to Jack's apartment. "I found something," she said, spreading papers on the table. "Records of my parents' marriage. My father wasn't from a wealthy family. He was an engineer who once helped my mother when her ship had trouble." Jack leaned forward. "Just like us?" "Yes." Olivia pointed to a document. "The board arranged everything back then, too. But look at this note from my grandfather." The handwritten note expressed concern that the board had deliberately damaged his daughter's ship to create a betrothal opportunity with a man they could control. "You think they did the same with your ship?" Jack asked. Olivia nodded. "I checked the damage more carefully. Someone had tampered with the engine before I left Nova Prime." Jack sat back, thinking. But why me? Why not someone they already knew they could control? "That's what I can't figure out," Olivia admitted. "There's something about you specifically that they wanted." They were interrupted by a message on Olivia's tablet. She read it and frowned. "What is it?" Jack asked. "More threats from Stellar Dynamics, our biggest competitor. They claim we stole their technology." She sighed. "I need to deal with this. We'll talk more tomorrow." After Olivia left, Jack couldn't sleep. Something was bothering him about the whole situation. Why had the board chosen him? He was nobody special, just a mechanic from a small colony. There had to be a reason. The next morning, Jack asked to see the company records about Solarian Colony. Gregory was reluctant, but eventually agreed after Olivia insisted. Jack spent hours reading about his home. Solarian had been established 30 years ago as a mining colony. The original settlers included his parents, who had arrived when Jack was just a baby. One name caught Jack's attention: William Harper. His father. There was very little information about him before he arrived on Solarian. It was as if his past had been erased. Jack showed Olivia what he had found. "Something's wrong here. My father never talked much about his life before Solarian. I always thought it was because it wasn't important." "Or because it was too important," Olivia suggested. "We need to look deeper." They decided to visit Solarian Colony together. Olivia arranged a small, private ship without telling the board where they were going. They left Nova Prime secretly, telling only Olivia's most trusted assistant. The journey back to Solarian took 2 days. Jack felt strange returning as the betrothed of Olivia Blackwell Montgomery, rather than just the colony's mechanic. When they landed, The colony looked the same, but Jack noticed subtle changes. The 3 mechanics Blackwell had sent were upgrading systems throughout the settlement. People stared as Jack and Olivia walked through the streets. They went to Jack's old home above his shop. Everything was still there, covered in a thin layer of dust. Jack found a hidden compartment in the floor where his father had kept important papers. Inside was a small metal box. Jack opened it and found an old identification card, a ring with the Blackwell family crest, and a letter. "What is this?" Olivia asked, looking at the ring. Jack read the letter aloud. It was from his father to him, to be read only if something happened. The words shocked both of them. William Harper was actually William Blackwell, the younger brother of Olivia's father. He had discovered corruption in the company years ago and fled with his wife when the board tried to silence him. They had changed their names and settled on Solarian to raise their son in safety. "You're a Blackwell," Olivia whispered. "My cousin." Jack stared at the ring. "That's why the board wanted me. They must have discovered who I really was." "It makes sense now," Olivia said. "They didn't bring you in because they wanted someone they could control. They brought you in because they were afraid of what would happen if you made a claim on the company." Jack looked at her. "I don't want the company. I never did. But you have a right to it," Olivia said, "and that frightens them." They heard a noise outside. Looking through the window, Jack saw Blackwell security officers surrounding the building. "They found us," he said. Olivia checked her tablet. "My assistant must have told them. I trusted her." "Is there another way out?" Olivia asked. Jack nodded. "There's a tunnel that connects to the maintenance system. The colony was built with emergency exits." They grabbed the box of documents and slipped into the tunnel just as security entered the shop. The narrow passage led them through the colony's underground system and out near the landing pads. "We can't take your ship," Jack said. "They'll be watching it. Then what do we do?" Olivia asked. Jack looked around and spotted an old cargo ship preparing to leave. "I know the pilot. He owes me a favor." They ran to the ship. The pilot, an old friend of Jack's named Ben, was surprised to see them, but agreed to help when Jack explained they were in trouble. "Where to?" Ben asked as they lifted off, narrowly avoiding the Blackwell security ships that were too slow to respond. Jack looked at Olivia. "Where can we go that the board can't reach us?" Olivia thought for a moment. "Frontier Station 7. It's outside corporate jurisdiction. And I know someone there who can help us understand what my father and your father discovered." As Ben's ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, Jack studied the documents from the box. His father had collected evidence of the board's corruption, including illegal deals with pirates, sabotage of competitors, and manipulation of markets. "The board has been doing this for decades," Jack said, "controlling the company through fear and manipulation." Olivia nodded. "And now they want to control both of us." Jack looked at her. Over the past month, their forced betrothal had become something different. He had grown to admire Olivia's intelligence and courage. And sometimes, when she looked at him, he thought she might feel the same way. "What happens if we expose them?" he asked. "It would change everything," Olivia said. "Blackwell Interstellar would have to be reorganized. The board would be removed. And us? What happens to our betrothal?" Olivia smiled slightly. "That would be up to us. The tradition only creates the betrothal. What comes after is our choice." Their ship continued through space, carrying them toward an uncertain future. Behind them, the board of Blackwell Interstellar realized their carefully laid plans were falling apart. Jack Harper wasn't the simple mechanic they had expected. He was a Blackwell by blood, and now he knew it. The game had changed, and neither Jack nor Olivia intended to play by the board's rules anymore. Frontier Station 7 hung in space like a giant metal wheel. Unlike the gleaming towers of Nova Prime, the station was built for function rather than beauty. Jack and Olivia arrived there after 3 days of travel on Ben's cargo ship. "Thank you," Jack told his friend as they prepared to leave. "I won't forget this," Ben nodded. "Just be careful. Blackwell has eyes everywhere." Inside the station, Olivia led Jack through crowded corridors to a small office hidden in the lower levels. A sign on the door read, "Samuel Wright, Information Specialist." Olivia knocked, and an older man with white hair and a lined face opened the door. "Olivia Blackwell," he said, surprised. "I never expected to see you here," he noticed Jack. "And who's this?" "Jack Harper," Olivia said, "though his real name is Jack Blackwell. He's my cousin Sam, William's son." Sam's eyes widened. He quickly ushered them inside and locked the door. The office was filled with computers and old-fashioned paper files. "William's son," Sam repeated, studying Jack's face. "Yes, I see the resemblance now." "You knew my father?" Jack asked. Sam nodded. "I helped him and your mother disappear after he discovered what the board was doing. I've been watching over you from a distance ever since." "What exactly did my father discover?" Jack asked. Sam pulled out an old data drive. "The real purpose of Blackwell Interstellar. It's not just a shipping and technology company. The board has been using it to control the development of human colonies for generations." Olivia frowned. "What do you mean, control?" "They decide which colonies succeed and which fail. They manipulate resources, create artificial shortages, even sabotage infrastructure to keep everyone dependent on Blackwell products and services." Jack thought about his colony, always struggling with supply problems and equipment failures. "They've been doing this to Solarian too?" "To every colony," Sam said. "Your father found proof and threatened to expose them. That's why they tried to kill him. He and your mother barely escaped." Sam showed them files, recordings, and documents that Jack's father had collected. The evidence was clear. For nearly a century, the board had been manipulating humanity's expansion through space, all to maintain their power and wealth. "We need to stop them," Jack said. "How?" Olivia asked. "They control everything: the media, the government officials, even the military in some sectors." Sam smiled. "Not everything. In 3 days, Blackwell Interstellar celebrates its centennial. Every important person in the galaxy will attend. It's the perfect opportunity to reveal the truth." They spent the next 2 days planning. Olivia used her access codes to gather more evidence from company files. Jack studied the security systems of Blackwell headquarters. Sam contacted trusted journalists and officials who would help spread the truth. On the morning of the centennial celebration, they boarded a small, fast ship and headed for Nova Prime. Olivia had special clearance codes that would get them past the planet's security. "Are you ready?" she asked Jack as they approached the planet. He nodded. "I've been ready my whole life. I just didn't know it." The celebration was held in the grand hall of Blackwell Tower. Thousands of guests in formal attire mingled while screens showed the company's achievements over the past century. The board members stood on a stage, ready to give speeches about Blackwell's glorious future. Diane Blackwell stepped to the podium. "Welcome to the centennial of humanity's greatest company," she began. At that moment, Jack and Olivia slipped into the control room behind the stage. The few technicians there were quickly convinced to help when Sam's journalist friends arrived with them. "Ready?" Jack asked. Olivia nodded and inserted a data drive into the main system. On the giant screens around the hall, Diane's face was replaced by documents, recordings, and evidence of the board's crimes. Her voice was drowned out by William, Blackwell's recorded message explaining what he had discovered decades ago. The crowd fell silent. Then chaos erupted as people realized what they were seeing. Security officers moved toward the control room, but stopped when they saw Olivia. "This ends now," she said, stepping onto the stage. Jack followed her. Diane and the other board members tried to escape, but security officers, many of whom had family on the manipulated colonies, blocked their way. Olivia, be reasonable, Gregory pleaded. The company will survive, Olivia finished, but the board won't. Not after what you've done. Jack faced the crowd. My name is Jack Blackwell. My father was William Blackwell, who discovered the truth and was forced to flee. Today, we finish what he started. Over the next few hours, as authorities arrived and the board members were taken away, Jack and Olivia answered questions and explained their evidence. Government officials promised investigations. Colony representatives demanded justice. Late that night, when the chaos had finally calmed, Jack and Olivia stood alone on the balcony of the tower. What happens now? Jack asked. We rebuild, Olivia said. Make Blackwell what it should have been, a company that helps humanity grow, not one that controls it. Jack looked at the stars. And us? Our betrothal was just a trick by the board. Olivia took his hand. Was it? The tradition says aid freely given creates a bond. You did help me when I needed it, asking nothing in return. That part was real. We're cousins, Jack pointed out. Distant cousins, Olivia corrected. Our fathers were half-brothers. And more importantly, we've become something the board never expected. What's that? Partners, she said. Equals. Something no one in my family has had for generations. 3 months later, Jack stood on the landing pad of Solarian Colony. The place had changed. New buildings, better equipment, more people. With Blackwell resources now fairly distributed, the colony was thriving. Olivia's ship landed nearby. She stepped out, no longer the formal businesswoman he'd first met on Nova Prime. Here, she was just Olivia. The last colony inspection is complete, she said, walking to him. Everyone is finally getting what they need. And the company? Jack asked. Stronger than ever, now that we're helping people instead of controlling them. She smiled. The new board is working well. Sam makes an excellent chairperson. They walked to the spot where they had first met, where Jack had repaired her ship that night long ago. You never did accept payment for that repair, Olivia said. Jack smiled. I told you to help someone else when you got the chance. You've helped thousands. Not enough to clear the debt, she said. According to tradition, there's only one way to fulfill the obligation completely. Jack took her hand. I think I'm ready to honor that tradition now. On our terms. Under the 3 moons of Solarian, with the colony watching, Jack and Olivia sealed their betrothal with a kiss. Not as a mechanic and a magnate, not as pawns. In a corporate game, but as 2 people who had found each other across the stars. The colony celebrated long into the night. And if some of the older residents noticed how much Jack looked like his father, or how his smile was pure William Blackwell, they kept it to themselves. The past was settled. It was time to build the future. In his shop, now expanded but still bearing his name, Jack kept a small box with his father's ring and letter. Beside it sat a simple repair tool, the one he had used to fix Olivia's ship on that fateful night. 2 small things that had changed the course of human history in the stars. All because a mechanic had repaired a ship without charge, and accidentally became betrothed to the galaxy's wealthiest woman.